Hi everyone, this is Kelly Ann. I am the presenter for today's user group. Today we're going to look at the newest version coming out. This is a preview of version 17.14. You can see that here in the upper right. Again, this version is not out yet. Hopefully it will be out early fall. But we're just giving everyone a preview of what's to come. Before we start looking at the new version, we are just going to be looking at the reporting features and membership. And it is so neat, very flexible. There's a lot to it though, so it'll be a little bit of learning, I think, for current users. I want to show you some things that just want to make sure people are aware of. They're on our website. This is the Church Windows website. If you've never been there, I encourage you to take a look at least once a week. It's www.churchwindows.com. If you look along the left side, all these things can be accessed by links at the top. I, by default, go to the left side. If you look under training, here's where you can find more items to help you learn more about using the program. Now, live web, recorded classes, customized training and workbooks, those all do cost money. But there are some resources available for free that you can look into and see if those help you out. We do have pre-recorded webinars. Some of those, now a lot of these were recorded a couple years back when Mary Lou was still with us, and some of them deal with, pretty sure they all deal with accounting. Maybe look a little different. We may have made some changes to accounting since these were made, but Mary Lou has since left and started her own accounting firm, and she's very knowledgeable and did a great job on these webinars. She also went to school for fraud prevention, so here we have a great webinar about learning about fraud detection and prevention. So those are just a few of the webinars available free online, pre-recorded. You've accessed this user group. Maybe you've accessed it because somebody else at the church signed you up. Notice under training we also have user group webinars. This takes you to the page that shows all the free webinars, and we also have now some coffee break quick classes that are a little shorter webinars. But we will always update these and show you the most current webinars and coffee break quick classes. Here you can see today's webinar or user group. Next week, Rachel is going to be leading one about preparing for fall. She's actually sitting in today watching and listening to learn how to do this. I think that's going to be her first one, but we'll help her out. It's nice to have somebody else doing some of these with us, another lady. We also have a coffee break quick class coming up on the 28th over just overall features for version 17. Again, today we're going to concentrate on reporting wows. Also, if you look under support, this is an important section. Here you have the download current updates, which if you click on that, takes you to the page where you can see the most current version of Church Windows, which is 16.13.2. So again, a reminder, what you're seeing today, version 17 is not out yet. Also have tech tips. If you got those in an email and accidentally threw them away, they're always on our website. Let me preface this with the new version, version 17, will only work if you're on the accounting module and the newer donations module. Now, if you only own one or the other, then you say you own financial or you own contributions, but you don't own financial. You see the word on your screen, but you don't have to update to accounting because you don't own that program. But if you own financial or contribution, and that's what you see on your opening screen, you will need to update to the newer donations and accounting before you can before you can update to the version 17. Now I know that confused some people, so if that is confusing, definitely give us a call or email and we can talk to you about that. If you haven't converted yet, then I highly encourage you to click on this conversion transition link. This takes you to a page where it talks all about some of the things that change from contributions to moving over to the new donations. Also has a movie, a quick reference guide, handling duplicate givers. I don't know why I skipped over the most important one, the first document, a preparation document that talks to you about things you want to clean up in membership and contributions before you convert over to donations. And then for accounting, if you haven't converted yet, here we have some information about converting, a quick reference guide, and part 3 and 4 of this book are actually quite similar, excuse me, to the accounting workbooks, maybe not as in depth, but they do go over a lot of the functions in the accounting module. So again, with the update to version 17, if you own contributions or financial or both, and you're still on those older versions called contributions and financial, that's what you just see on the opening screen, you will need to convert to donations and accounting if you want to continue updating to newer versions of the program. Version 17 and beyond will not work with contributions or financial. All right, last but not least, 2 more things here, the support docs and links. If we click on that, this page used to be a lot longer. We're trying to move all of our documents over to the last thing I want to show you, our support blog. I think a lot of people are unaware this exists. The support blog is great because if you notice at the top, you can click on the different modules. If I click on membership, it takes me to all of the documents we have for membership, and at the bottom you can click older posts to see older documents or movies. We have both movies and documents up here. Or I can put in a keyword and search for that, and I typed in stock, and that's bringing up my donations, posting a gift of stock, or if you're still on contributions, how to do it there. I see somebody mention an XP over in the questions. Here's something about Windows XP and Server 2003 lifecycle termination. So if you're still on either of those, that is a document you might want to check out. All right, so now that I've shown you all of these neat things on the website that you might not have been aware of, let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to close this. All right, so I went ahead and opened up version 17 just so for time's sake, so it's right up there on screen. You can see it looks a little different, a little snazzier. We still have the church windows stained glass and the user-friendly support. You'll notice the version has moved. It used to be right about the middle, just above where it would say donations or contributions. Now it's up in the upper right corner. I think that used to have the date of our company, but that I think people would read that off to us. Now all we see is the version in the upper right corner, so that will always display your most current version. And you can see we can click on any of these items. This is called the opening portal, I believe. And I've already clicked on membership to save time. When I click on that, I don't get a drop-down menu anymore. I have it minimized here. Let's see. Got too many things open. Let me just click on it and it'll bring it right up. There we go. So if I click on membership, it doesn't give me a little drop down with options. It takes me to my membership portal where I can choose, and I'll show you a few things here just before we go to reports. You'll see a lot of things still look the same. If I go to members, still looks like the same members, household and individual record, attendance. If I click on that, I have some different options. If I go to any of these, you'll see these screens are still the same attendance screens that you have currently in membership. Same applies for visits. Special functions. When I click here, I get some options of what I can choose. So I have a drop-down list here. If I click on reports, this is what we're really going to dive into. I have quite a big list here. I'm going to go ahead and go to Reports Directory Export and start off showing you the most general way to generate a report versus looking at, later we're going to see some of these, what I call canned reports or preset reports. And these, we'll see, have the same functionality as Reports Directory Export, but they already have your search criteria filled in for you for a birth date list, anniversary list, and so on. So let's start right off with Reports Directory Export. If I click on that, brings up a new window that looks completely different from what you're used to seeing if you go to Membership Reports List. But it has a lot of the same functionality plus a lot more flexibility. Now I can imagine a lot of the users who are used to running membership, you've used it for years, you might be looking at this going, wow, there's a lot here, I'm confused. Just remember, it was probably a learning curve when you first started with Church Windows membership, and we're trying to improve the program and add all the wonderful suggestions that our users have suggested. So to do that, we do have to expand the program, but it does allow you a lot more flexibility. And I think as you start using it and learning it, eventually it'll be a breeze, and you'll go, wow, this is so much better. There's so much more I can do here. So here, this is what we call our, I like to call the who. On this screen, I'm telling it, I'm going to select who I want on my report. Now I can do that. In the upper left, maybe I just want people with emails. I can, upper left, select a membership field. So I can choose email. Now I could just hit E on my keyboard. I don't know if you know about that shortcut. And that just shows me the fields that start with E. Makes it a little easier than scrolling through the list. If I want people with an email address, I would notice I have a lot of different options here. I can choose is not blank. And then I need to click the plus selection box to add that. Now maybe I just want females with an email. I'm emailing something for a group of females. Then I would need to click the and button right here in the middle. And I can go back up to select a membership field and hit G for gender. Choose gender. And now I can check off what I'd like here for gender, which would be female. And then click plus selection. So now I've created a search criteria where it's going to look for females where their email address field is not blank. Now I want to save this because I'm going to do this every month. Guess what? Those of you who are used to Church Windows and you saw save selections disappeared from labels, it's back in labels and it is here in membership reports. To save this, notice at the bottom I have save selections. If I click the down arrow, we don't have anything saved yet. I'm going to click this little disk icon, which is save selection. And then a little window comes up where I can put in a name for this search. Call it females with email. That rhymes, how cute. I'll say okay. Now before I hit next to move on, I want to look at some other things on this report screen. At the top right, I can choose members or visitors, or I can uncheck and just do one or the other. And that's referring to the member side of your database versus the visitor side. Doesn't have anything to do with their status or any field on the record. It's the two different sides of the database. I also now can easily include terminated or inactive people by just checking terminated inactive. If you want people who you've given a reason for termination, remember those people don't automatically show on a report. Reason for termination is a way for you to retain their record but not have them show up on all your lists, labels, and reports. Instead of having to say reason for termination equal to death or reason for termination not blank, so I can pull in terminated people, I can just click this little terminated inactive, and if any terminated or inactive people meet my criteria, they would be on the report as well. I'm going to uncheck that. If you want to include some donation criteria, which we're not really going to go too much into donations, but you can include that criteria now. Here we can choose people with or without numbers. We can choose a certain giver number range, or I don't think we have any here. Oh, we do have children's envelopes. If you've created a named range, you can select that here. Now it automatically grabbed that because I clicked the drop down. To clear it, I just click the X. Lower right, notice we can also include membership groups. Now that doesn't mean the actual people in the groups, that means the group. Like I could have the first grade, the second grade, my finance committee or stewardship committee. If I want them on my report, I could check membership groups, but they are not limited by membership fields because they don't have a record with fields. Remember, it's just a group you set up, you put people in. But if you want groups to show on the report, I could check that. I also could include my donation individuals or donation groups, and those are people that I have just added to donations. They don't have a record over in my membership module. Along the upper right, oops, one more thing, I forgot here. Notice here we have arrows where if I put my criteria in a weird order and I need to move things around, I can use those arrows to move them up or down. Or if I've added an extra line I don't need, I can highlight it and click Remove Line. Or if I just want to clear this entire search out, I can click Clear All. Upper right, there's 4 tabs. We're looking at the People tab. We can also, if you'd like, include different criteria for giving versus pledging and base that on a certain donation date range. And if I'm showing numbers on my report, I could say those numbers as of a certain date. And again, if I'm including donations criteria, I can select the particular accounts I want. And this is new. I can also select a particular pledge campaign if I'd like. And then last but not least, before we hit next, we can click on our Sort tab and choose our sort order. Here we're choosing our default of name, but notice we can sort by just about, I think, any field almost in the membership records. I haven't looked to see. You got to remember, this is new to all of us techs as well. We've only had a little bit of time working with 17 as we're also helping you on calls. So forgive me if I err anywhere here during the course of this user group. All right, so we put our criteria in. I went ahead and saved this because I want to use this every month. I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And I do want to save that. I think I made a little change there before when I saved it before, so I'll click Yes. And once I hit Next, it brought up what I like to call my What screen. Now I chose the people on the previous screen on all the different tabs, and now I'm going to tell it what exactly I want to print for those people I selected. Now there's a lot to this. If you notice upper left, it's defaulted to basic. Let's just click print and see what basic gives us. And I'll make it a little bigger for people with eyes like mine. So here we see it pulled. We don't see emails here or anything, but it tells us exactly at the bottom what our criteria is. And we have people where their email is not blank, and it is females. Now, if I wanted to change what I'm seeing on that basic report, I can click here on Select Fields. And maybe I just want to see their name and email. Here in Visible Columns, I'm seeing what is showing on the report. And if I don't want it there, I can highlight it and use the left-facing arrow to move it out. And now if I scroll down, whoops, went past the E's, I can find email address and move that over. Also, each of these different columns I add, notice the default for name is to, if I look in the lower right, to display, the column header will show name and then in parentheses last comma first. I just want that column header to show the word name. So down here under display name, I can change what my column header will show. I also, under column selector, can adjust the column width for each of these columns. Let's make that bigger. Email address I can click on and adjust that as well. You just use the arrows to adjust whichever columns, or to adjust up or down and say OK. But adjust column width is specific to whichever line or column name you've highlighted. I know when the program first came out, I believe it was in accounting, we saw this adjust column width button. The thought was people were thinking it adjusted every column all at once by just clicking that. But it is specific to the actual column you've highlighted. Notice it says adjust column width for name. So once I do that, just take a look here. You can see all the different columns that are available. Your reports are so flexible now as to what you can add to them. But we're done here, so we'll just say OK. Now if we take a look at that, I've changed that to just show the females' names and their email address. Now I can also do an all information report by clicking that dot. Let me go back to basic real quick, because notice when I'm on basic, if I look to the right, report options, that's the only thing I see here. Let's look real quick. Here we can do some different things, a page break on my sort field. We can do an alphabetic page break, uppercase last name. We'll check that this time. Include year on birth date or an alphabetic heading. With the report I'm doing, I probably don't need a page break or alphabetic headings or anything like that, but those are available if you're doing a longer report or something that you want to look like a directory. That's probably where to use them. Notice now when I click on all information, I have another little tab up here. Now let's just click print and we'll see what that all information report defaults to look like. It is showing me all of the information for the selected people. Remember those, I'm still looking at email, females with an email. If I want to edit what shows on that all information report, again, I can click select fields and I can change the visible columns. And also I have all my report options here with the page break. Here is where if I'm doing all information, I might want a page break on each person. If I'm going to hand it to them and tell them, can you please update this and let us know, what's right and wrong. Now if I click print, notice before it moves on to the next person, it starts a brand new page. Also, though, we have a second tab showing all information where I can ask for it to print empty fields, and if they're a visitor, to put a V in brackets after their name. All right, mail merge export is how we can actually export the data out of the program. I'm going to move over to a report, though, since that's actually just exporting, and we're really looking at reports here. That we could cover in another user group. So I want to look here now at custom report. When I choose a custom report, notice I no longer have the option to select fields. Excuse me. I'm going to go back to basic here and show you. When I'm on basic, I can select my fields. And right now I'm using what's called our basic columnar report, which is preset, and I don't have any others made. I can go ahead and with that basic report, click on New, choose my report size, paper, and some other items here. And then when I click OK, it takes me into my layout where I can adjust what I'm seeing here. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the report designer and layout. Actually, I think it was about 2 weeks ago I did a user group where that's pretty much all we concentrated on. So we could take a full hour just looking at that. I just want to show you all the reports and all the neat things. And at another user group, we might do another user group showing that report design and how you can use that. When I click on custom or directory, notice I can't select my fields, and that's because if I go back to custom, it's now showing classic horizontal directory. And if I click the down arrow, notice we have a lot of presets here. Now I did not go to my actual directory, but here, this allows me the ability to search for certain people and actually pull up a formatted directory that's already in that directory format. With the old membership, if you wanted a directory, you couldn't just, of certain people, you couldn't just go to membership reports directory. because that pulls up everyone that has a yes for include on directory and who has a directory report order. This now allows you to search for a certain group of people, and then here you can choose custom or you can choose directory, and you have all those different directory setups that you can use with that specific group of people you just looked for. So here I could choose custom. If I'd like, I can go into edit. Again, we're not going to go into lots of detail here, but this is the actual design that I can go in and edit and manipulate and change and add to. But that's our preset directory, or custom directory, classic horizontal directory. This custom directory is not dependent on a directory report order being filled in or include on directory saying yes. Notice I have 4 females showing here. If I put the dot in directory, one of them disappears. Now I would gather, I haven't gone to check, but if I were to go look at that person's record, include on directory is probably set to no or blank, and that's why that person disappeared when I chose directory, because choosing a directory report, they have to have include on directory set to yes and a directory report order to show on this report if I choose directory. All right, let's go back to custom. Wow, we've already used a half an hour. I could go on for days. There's just so many neat things in here. If I hit print here, now it's only 4 ladies because we're just currently doing the emails not equal to blank, but it's a basic horizontal directory like we saw in the old membership directory. If I choose the multi-column and print, it's just like the multi-column directory you're used to seeing under directory. And we have other formats here, directory for booklet printing. Actually, you know what, I'm going to go back into here and not select people so we have a full list of people. So we'll just hit next here and get rid of those, just the email ladies. So here, if we do the directory for booklet printing, hit print, we have a nice directory of everyone that's formatted for a booklet. A horizontal picture directory already preset. I don't know that we have any pictures set up in here. But notice this one is preset and we have a logo on it, the church name. I don't think we have pictures for anyone in this version of the program. If we had pictures, they would show right here. And I'm pretty sure when we had our little meeting this morning, the pictures size themselves automatically. Rachel's giving me thumbs up. I did hear that correctly. In Church Windows right now, you have to make sure that you crop and size your pictures before you put them in Church Windows. This now will actually handle making sure that's a uniform size compared to all the rest. So I wish we had pictures here. I apologize we don't have pictures showing, but they would show over here to the right. Also, look here, we have a multi-column directory with a child section. We now in the setup have a section where you can set up children separately. And that's what this is doing. Here we see some of the child's information just below all of the rest of the household information. And a simple picture directory, which I could have sworn when I did this last we had pictures, so I'm not sure where they went. But normally there would be a picture here along with all the information. So again, apologies that we don't actually have a picture showing, but I know when I did it last time it showed and it looks really, really nifty. Now if you wanted to edit any of these, which again I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, we can click edit and look at our report design. You have a lot of freedom here. Admittedly, it was very overwhelming to me when I first came in here, but as I'm learning how it works, it is so flexible. You have a lot more you can do with it. You have a header area for the entire report where it would just whatever you place here is just going to print on the first page of the report. Page header where you can put information that's going to print on every page. Detail section, which is where you'll actually place all of the different fields for the people. You can place the child information here, but it reports a little differently and scrunches it together. It looks a lot prettier when you use the actual child report section down below to insert information for children. Then we also have a footer area, report footer that only does one band per report or just on the first page. And then a page footer that is just one band per page, meaning every page of the report. Again, I just really wanted to show you this so you're aware it's here. Hopefully we'll have another user group where I go in and really dive into the report designer, but that we took a whole hour looking at that before. I'm not going to change that, so I'll just say no. Directory, if I choose that option, we have the same layouts. But again, choosing directory, they have to have include on directory set to yes and a directory report order selected to show on a directory report. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start. Let's move off of this. I know there's a lot that I showed you there. It's probably overwhelming, but as you get used to it, I think you're gonna like it a lot, and you'll just breeze on through it. I want to go ahead and show you some of the preset, or I like to call them canned reports. If we click on birth date, we can choose reports directory export. Now, with any of these, notice we have reports directory export, labels, and email right up at the top for general things. But if I want to do specific birth dates, here I can choose reports, or I can do labels or email that are specific to birth dates. Today we're looking at reports, so I'm just going to click on that. When I do, it takes me to the same sort of screen we were looking at with the more general report area, but it does say at the top birth date list, and it defaults to put the birth date criteria in for you. Here we have birth date is in the month of July, and it's reading that from the lower right, my computer date. If that's all the criteria I need, I can go ahead and click plus selection to add that. And maybe I want to save this, so every time I come in, I can just pull up that save selection for whichever month I need. So I click my little save and do July birthdays. Say OK. I can make any other choices I need. I have the same choices here. Same tabs going across the top for if I wanted to combine donations information. And here I can choose a sort order. Now the birth date list defaults to sort by your birth date. Back on, oops, no, let's go ahead and click next. I'm still not getting used to the tab. I was looking for include year and birth date, and that's on our next tab. So here we're going to tell it what we want to print. I want to go ahead and just show you some of the canned reports, so we'll just look at the basic ones for these, but notice we could do all information, a mail merge, custom directory, or an export. If I click on select fields, it's defaulting to give me what you would most likely want for a birth date report, the last name, first name, birth date, and I don't think age is included. I added that earlier because I was playing around and wanted to show the age as well. But if we want to remove or add something, same way, we just highlight it and use the arrows. I didn't mention before, maybe we want to see the birth date first. We can use the arrows to the right to choose the order that our columns will be in. All right, so let me say OK here. See if there's anything else I want to add. Oh, upper right, we have include year and birth date. So if you want to see that, make sure that's checked. Let's go ahead and click print and see how this looks. So here we have our July birthdays, showing my birth date first, the last name, first name, and the age. It's a really nice, easy report, and I like that we have a lot more flexibility. Instead of having to go into custom report the old way and create all our layout and all the different fields, the layout's already set up for you. You can click on edit and change what's going on here. But really, with the basic, what you need to change would be selecting your fields and exactly what fields you want to show on that report. All right, so that's our birth date report. Now let's look. If we go to reports, we have an anniversary report preset. That's something new. There wasn't an anniversary report prior to 17. You had to set one up yourself. So if we go to reports directory, here we see it defaults to marriage date. Now if it's the first time you're opening the anniversary report, a little window will come up and ask you which field you use to record your marriage date. Because you may have multiple fields, maybe you chose to record it by another field and you named it something else. Because I've already been in here today, it's not showing that little window, but you will get a little window where all you do is click a down arrow, click on the name of the field that you use to record marriage dates, and then it knows every time thereafter when you open this, it's going to default to look at marriage date is in month and whatever month it sees on your computer clock. So if we want July, we can click plus selection. We could save this if we wanted to. I'll go back to it. Well, here, let me save this. I didn't show you how to pull up saved ones. It's pretty easy. So do July marriages and say OK. Hit next. Here we can choose whatever type of report we want, or we can make a new one. Can click print. And here we can see marriage date, the actual names and the marriage date. I don't like all this selected in spouse and partner, and marriage date, I don't like how it's wrapping, so what I can do there is click on select fields. I had to think for a minute, where do I go? So it's still taking me time to get used to all this. Here I show the column names, and remember down here I have display name. I'm going to remove that information in parentheses. I don't need that at the top of the column header. And then I'm going to click on marriage date and adjust that column width a little bit larger so marriage date goes across. Now if I click print, here we have names and marriage date. I no longer show that information in parentheses, and marriage date is showing just going across instead of wrapping. Okay. All right. Someone wanted to look at exporting. Different ways to export. We have a mail merge export, which you'll have to pardon me if I err here because I wasn't prepared for this. Mail merge export. We don't have any set up. We can look over here at export options. At the end of this line, I can click the box with 3 dots to choose where I'm going to export this. Here I'm going to choose desktop and click open. And I can put in an export name. We'll do it marriage July. And notice now that I've chosen export, I don't have a print button anymore. I'm just going to click, oops. I need to see, again, I was not prepared for this, so we'll name this July marriages. Say OK. Now I can click export. It tells me the file's been created and where it put it. Would I like to open that folder, not the file? So if I say yes, it just takes me to my desktop and shows me the actual folder I exported it to. Also, we could do a directory export, and that works the same way. That's about as much as I know about the export feature. I noticed Marla said to touch on that real quick, so that was real quick, but I'm not an expert on the mail merge export just yet. So let's go back now. I want to show you some more of the preset, or as I call them, canned reports. If we go to reports and groups classes and choose reports directory export, it pops up a little box where we can choose our group or class. At the top, if I want to narrow down to what I'm seeing, I could choose a division, department, or category. And notice that narrows down to just my classes, just my committees. Or I could clear that out and see everything. I can select all or clear all, or just check off the groups or classes I need. And I also can look at past, present, or future groups or classes. Now those are dependent on a start and end date. If you don't enter start and end dates, then everything for your groups and classes will show. And I can also limit it to a role if I assign roles in my groups or classes. Once I've made my choices, I just click OK. And then I can click plus selection to add that. Again, I can choose any of the donations tabs. On the sort tab for groups and classes, it just defaults to sort by name. And then I have all my other choices on the side as well. So the screens, the choices are the same with these presets. It's just filling in that preset information for you. So I hit next. Here my report brings up the people that were in the groups or classes I selected. If I click on select field, this is set up to show you their name, address, home phone, the group and class start and end date, the role, and this is new, the groups and classes comments you enter now will print on reports. Yay! I've been hearing people ask for that since I started in 2007. It wasn't possible until now, but now you can print the comments that you've entered in groups and classes. Let's just click print to see what that preset report looks like. Now notice it's automatically dividing people up, and it shows me first a heading for the group or class, then the people in that with the information, the different columns that were selected. Then it moves on to the next group or class and so on. If I wanted a separate sheet for each group or class, let me go back. I can sort by, where is it? Oh, I haven't tried this yet, but maybe I can't. Can I not sort by group class? Well, I'll have to look into that. I thought I could sort by a group or class and then tell it to have a page break on sort field. But it looks like maybe that is not possible, so I'll have to look into that. Let's look at the last set report, and then we'll look at some of the other reports below that that really haven't changed much. If we go to skills and interest and choose reports, here it defaults in the upper left to skills and interest, and to show the different skills and interest we've set up, we can check off whatever we need. Same options over the right, same tabs in the upper left. The sort here is to default to sort by name. Oh, somebody said I have a page break on group option. Thank you. Again, there's so much here that I still am learning this, so I apologize if I miss something. Like this, I forgot to add it. It's asking because I didn't hit plus selection. Do I want the selection skills interest added to the query? So I want to say yes. Here we go. And this is what Beth was referring to. She mentioned in questions for me. On the groups classes report, it probably said page break on group. So that's what I was looking for under sort. But we could check that. Choose our report, what type we want. And then if we hit print, notice now because I chose group break on the skill, it's giving me a separate page for each skill and interest I chose. Oops. And I might want to change this to landscape, and I might need to shorten up my columns because it looks like my skills and interests are moving over to a second page. But here you can see each skill or interest is starting on a separate page. And if I wanted to tighten that up a little so hopefully everything can fit on one page, I can click on each one of these columns and decrease the column size. We'll leave that at 10. I don't think any of my levels are that extensive, so we'll set that to 10. And comments, we'll leave as is. Let's see if that, whoops. Change this back to landscape. And now we have everything fitting on one page. But we're getting a page break for each group. If you wanted this all in one report without any page breaks, we just uncheck that, print, and can change to landscape. And here we have our report on one page showing the skills and interests, comments. And again, groups, classes, comments will print as well. I think I see somebody saying they're delighted. I'm going to close this and let's look. I'm running out of time here. Let's look real quick. If we go to reports, we got 3 more things I want to show you here. Under attendance, we have the same reports available: summary by person, event, group, class, worksheet, and report. If I click on these are the same reports we had in the old version prior to 17. Make my choices here and it's the same report screens. So I'm not going to pull all these up. I'll just show you here that these are indeed all the same report screens you currently see in your version of Church Windows for attendance. I don't know if those will change or not as they keep improving on the new rewrite, but those function the same way. Visits also, that report area is the same for recording visits and printing reports from visits. I'm seeing lots of positive things. I keep glancing at questions and I'm seeing delighted and so much better than older version. This is cool and useful. I'm happy to see those. Here we have the blank data entry form, and that functions the same way as well. All right, let me look. I thought I was running out of time. We have a little more than 10 minutes left. I've pretty much gone through and we've looked at all of the different reporting things in the new 17. Okay, I see somebody discussing labels. I can show you labels. Discussing labels could take a whole nother hour. Here, labels, notice this screen is the same as when we went to reports. I can combine criteria for membership and donations. Choose what I want here. This is my person picker, or who. Then I can click next, and on the label screen I can choose the format of the label, or if I need to make a label I can click new label. I have the option to do one per individual, giving unit, or family. And then that will bring up my labels. Again, here it's very flexible. I could go on and talk about this for the whole another hour, so if there's something specific that would be better. Has much changed about entering attendance? Not that I'm aware of. Let's take a look. If we go to attendance entry, it's the same screen we had, or we currently have in Church Windows version. We choose our group or class or event, put in the date, and mark attendance. So I hadn't looked in here, but the attendance entry is the same as the old version. I'm seeing that question come in multiple times. So here you go on the it's right on the screen right now. It is the same attendance entry screen you currently have in Church Windows. Somebody's asking if you can generate a PDF of a report. Let me just pull up preset report here. If I click next, I have the option to export down here, and I forgot to show you that button. That brings up export, where if I click this little sliver of an arrow to the right of export or send via email, I can choose the format I'd like to export this as. Now this is different than a mail merge export. That just takes out raw data, comma delimited. Here, if I do, say, a text file, I know at least currently, I was talking with Text this morning, we were trying to figure out a problem where it exports the address as a text box. So you can't take it apart like a mail merge exports it as separate little, each field is a separate item. So yes, you can export as a PDF. Somebody's asking about mixed case for the labels and when you'll be able to do lowercase. I don't know that you will be able to. I know it's always been a default for the labels to print uppercase because that is how the post office prefers them. So I do not know about that. I don't. If Marla knows, I'll let her answer that further. Somebody asked, does persons present print out on class attendance reports? These reports, go under here, they are the same reports, so I mean it depends on which report you're doing. If we do summary by person, that's just totals. I lost your question. Where did it go? If we go to summary by event, oops, choose one. That gives you totals. So I'm not sure about the question there. You might need to give us a call. Okay, somebody's asking about labels. So if we go to labels, and if you want, they wanted an envelope number on the label, that would be done by clicking Edit Label. And from your list along the right, clicking on Giver Number and dragging it to where you want on the label. Then saving your design and clicking OK. And that adds the number to your label. And again, this is version 17. It is not out yet. Hopefully it will be out early fall. I'm seeing lots of thank you, thank you. Oh, how to open a safe selection. I said I'd do that and I didn't. So let me go through reports directory here. So down at the bottom, we'll choose one of these safe selections, females with email. As soon as I chose it, it popped that criteria in. Now there's another note to mention. These specifically, birth date, anniversary, groups, classes, skills, interest, if you go to these reports and try to look for something without the birth date criteria or without, here in the anniversary report, the anniversary criteria, it will tell you that has to be part of your criteria. If you don't want anniversary to be part of the criteria, then don't go to anniversary report. Just go to the general reports directory export. All right, more questions. Somebody asked, good question. Would you be able to print reports and labels from the grid? If we go to membership members and hit find and go, brings up our grid. If we click print, we have an option of reports directory export or labels. Now first I'd probably want to select the people. I'll just say select all. If I do print and reports, brings up a smaller area. It takes us right to the what do we want to print because we've already picked the people. We have our grid up. But here we choose what report we want and print. And there we have it. We have the email report up. So yes, you can still print directly from the grid and you have a lot more flexibility about what you would like to see. I didn't show how to select fields on the grid, but I can do that, sure. If we go back to the grid to select your fields that you're showing on the grid, you click on Options. And here we see what's displaying on the grid. You can delete one item or delete all. And then from the list in the upper left or lower left, I can double click on the fields I need. Then I can even use the arrows over here to choose the order of those. Now again, I might be wrong here because I have not gone through the grid. You're asking questions I haven't done yet. Okay. No, actually for the report to select the fields, I'm pretty sure I need to click here on select fields. Yes. So doesn't matter what I'm showing in the grid. Once I get the report window up from the grid, I can click on select fields, add the different fields I'd like to see. I'm just randomly adding some for you here. Click OK and print. And obviously I need to tighten up my columns here or change this to landscape. But there I was able to change what I was seeing on that report, and that was by, if I'm doing the basic, select fields. We're here to help you when 17 comes out. Don't feel overwhelmed. You probably will, but give yourself some time to learn the new program. When you first started in membership, you had a little bit of learning to do there. We are here to help you. Call us. Don't pull your hair out. But do keep an eye on the user group webpage, because I'm certain we will keep doing more previews of 17. All right. Well, thank you again for attending this user group. And remember, take a look at our webpage for upcoming user groups. Probably see you and you'll hear me again on the phone or another user group. Have a lovely day. Bye.